Hello and welcome to episode 161 of our SAP on Azure Video Podcast. Today is September 22nd, and together with Robert and Goran, we are here to talk about anything related to SAP and Microsoft. Hello, everyone. So 5 months ago, we had a very interesting episode where CJ from our team in Asia had developed a simple but amazing scenario on how to leverage Azure OpenAI, Teams, and generating SQL queries to access data from SAP. After his session, we had Michael Mergell and our intern Noopur Vaishnav joining as well to talk about similar scenarios. Well, I'm super happy because CJ is back and he has enhanced his scenario quite a bit. So he'll show us some beautiful new things. Basically starting from the original concept that he had developed. But before we go there, let's quickly take a look at the news from this week. And I want to start with a congress that just happened. The German-speaking SAP user group had their annual meeting, and it was a very, very interesting congress, I would say, because obviously the DSAG had raised a lot of concerns about customers or SAP's statement of doing innovation only now in Rise and Grow, and basically leaving out customers that are on premise. And I think that was a very, very important topic, obviously, in the keynote from DSAG, but also then addressed in the keynotes from Christian Klein and also Thomas Sauer-Essig. So I think that was one of the reasons why also DSAG published or translated their keynotes to English. Some of the keynotes are already available on YouTube. So if you want to watch them, I'm sure you'll get them in the next few days. Also in English here on YouTube. Both keynotes are actually all 4 keynotes. If you want to do a quick recap, there's a nice blog post by Matthias Steiner. So I guess a lot of folks from the SAP ecosystem know Matthias. He was a long-time SAP employee. He used to run, or actually he was one of the founders of I think at that time, the SAP HANA cloud platform, or a SAP cloud platform that evolved in the business technology platform. And he wrote a very good summary of the keynote or the whole Congress. I'm sure there are a few other summaries that will come along, but for now I think Matthias wrote a really nice his point of view basically on what happened, addressing obviously these questions, these concerns that were raised from DSAG. So I think this is definitely worth a good read. Good. Then moving on, I got recently quite a few questions on SAP Business One and more specifically about the integration of the Power Platform in SAP Business One. So Business One, we had talked about this also in one of our previous episodes, is obviously this not this huge S/4HANA system, but a smaller one. It addresses very well smaller companies, and especially in these smaller companies, we see a huge adoption of Power Platform, obviously. So it's very natural that you not only want to connect Power Platform to your S/4HANA system, but also to Business One. And there were a few questions like how this can be done and what's the best approach. And then Moshe from Cumulus Services, he actually created 2 very nice YouTube videos that talk about the concepts, like how would you expose services from Business One, and then also how to consume them. And it's really nice. These videos are really nice because, again, they show the foundation, the concepts, and then they talk about, well, how can you do it? And you can already see here, this is live. This is a Business One screen. So he really also shows what's happening or what needs to be done. So if you are a Business One customer, I think this is definitely worth checking out. The final thing that I want to mention, and that was just announced yesterday, is Copilot or Microsoft Copilot. There was an event yesterday where Microsoft announced a lot of news, I would say, around Copilot and about Copilot in all different Microsoft products. So starting with Windows 11, Copilot will be introduced here actually on September 26th. So just in a few days, you'll see Copilot in Windows 11 with a lot of new functionality enhancements. in Bing and Edge, we will see a Copilot showing up. We have in Microsoft 365 Copilot, which I'm very much looking for, Bing Chat Enterprise and Windows. So there are a lot of things happening. There's also a more detailed blog post specifically focused on Microsoft 365 Copilot and Microsoft 365 Chat. And that is for me really something where I guess we'll see a huge shift how you interact and not only interact with your Microsoft data, but also with your SAP data. That when you open up Word, similar like what we've seen with the SuccessFactors scenario, but when you open up Excel, when you open up your emails, Teams, then from there you not only have access to your Microsoft data, but that you'll also see integration scenarios with SAP where you just from these Microsoft 365 Copilots, you will interact with SAP. So I can tell you, we are already seeing a lot of partners working on these scenarios. So I'm sure we'll see some very, very cool scenarios coming up. Good. That's all from me, from my side. Now we continue with the whole AI story, basically. We continue with what you can do if you use Azure OpenAI and if you have access to data from your SAP system. And CJ, before you show us what you have done, and I can see you already have the new Copilot logo on your slide.
Yeah,
before we go there
this morning.
Perfect. Maybe for those of you who have not yet seen your video, and actually I just checked the episode that we had before, like 5 months ago, has I think almost 1,000 views already. So it definitely shows there's a lot of interest in this topic. But for those of our audience who have not seen this video, maybe you can quickly introduce yourself, and then we can take a closer look at your scenario.
Sure, Holger. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, where you are. So my name is Chan Jin. I'm AKA CJ here in SAP and Microsoft World. I'm part of the SAP on Azure in Asia team. So I'm helping our customer, like SAP Microsoft, like they journey for the cloud migration. Also, all the surrounding of SAP on the Microsoft platform. Now, since beginning of this year, I spent a lot of times how to bring that the AI into the SAP domain, helping that our customer and partners to bring that their journey to the AI with the Microsoft platform. So once again, I'm so glad back to that SAP on Azure, the podcast once again. So like what the Holger mentioned that I think it was at the April. So once I introduced that my idea of like bring that those are the old data into the teams. I was not expecting that there are so many, like actually my customer, okay, all around the world, back to Korea, Singapore, they all reach out to me, hey, CJ, so they did a great video. So, I mean, basically the question was that, everyone is knowing about, okay, so now AI is coming, now the GPT 3.5, GPT 4, like what I mentioned that here, SAP itself, so SAP also they helping that a lot of the latest tool, like they embedding something called SAP AI Core Draft BTP. And also some like our Microsoft customer, they are willing to creating that their own the AI on the SAP data. They are all looking for that. What are the way of the consuming that my data from SAP, where I consider as my core data? What are the easiest way? So far, we running that in our Teams and daily communication. Then what are all the options? What they can easily adopting that, the building that AI application. That video which I showed to you with help from you that the all data was really give us that good insight. So they are actually a couple of my customer they are in the POC right now. Then looking for that, those are their Teams integration, trial that all data. So that's the easiest way. So I'll look for that. Our customers will go live very soon. So anyway, once again, I'm so glad I'm back to this podcast. I'll be quickly go through the things of what I've got latest in mind today.
Perfect.
All right. So I think the main that what I plan for today is I'm placing the word like you bring together in AI plus SAP. Okay. Initially, I was thinking about can I bring the SAP first or the AI later, or can I changing that AI first in the SAP? But at this time, so I starting the word in the AI first. Okay.
Okay.
So customers like looking for that. Let's say that like what I'm indicating that you placing the SAP as a part of the core ERP data. So I see that for various like the way we are able to actually bring that AI in SAP together. Okay, so let me start from the left hand side where the SAP has been updating that, what we call the embedded way. So they using the SAP BTP as part of the SAP AI core. So customer can be developing that AI application using that, something called Open the LLM, short the BTP services. This is where SAP, give us that another option using the SAP BTP. Also, we know that SAP, they're also spending that their own time embedding that AI scenario into that dedicated business process. So if a customer is feeling, hey, I still rely on, because I don't have any dedicated data science, I don't have any developer, we can creating all the logic, and I still prefer that what the SAP has been come up with that, the embedded the AI process is part of our ERP, that's fine. Okay, some customer they want to do. So this is one way. So then comes with that on the right hand side from the Microsoft point of view, definitely like the Holger mentioned that today. So Asia time we have got Copilot update. So this is another way, starting from the Windows Copilot, M365, Security Copilot, everything. Also Power BI. So that's going to be huge an opportunity our customer. So if you don't really go down with something called like outside in or inside out, so definitely this Copilot will definitely help you that the way moving that the journey for the AI. So now, like I go for the next one, which I call the outside in. So those are customer where I'm meeting the day by day. They do have their own knowledge. Okay, they do have their developer. Let's say there's something they want to like they are using that available Microsoft solution services as much as possible to connecting that SAP data. Okay. So when I look at the data warehousing, we call the enterprise data warehousing, enterprise data platform, one data lake. SAP has been huge amount of their transaction data. When SAP data is available, their own data, and then all other non-SAP system also part of their huge amount of data repository. They want to play with their dedicated data platform such as the Synapse, the data factory, also in the latest of the fabric. So there are a lot of options we're thinking that. Then they're asking, hey, CJ, now I'm okay with that. Okay, I bring my SAP data into the Synapse, the fabric. Then how do I taking that all the needed data out of here that I pass into my AI, like the Azure OpenAI, consuming that information what I want. And then this is where we came into them. So from the outside in point of view, let's say that from the Microsoft point of view, okay, so we introducing that, so all data mostly, and then the RESTful API, and then we have the Teams integration. We have got all the local, local Power Platform and Power Virtual Agent. And also I see that some customers actually they're looking for the semantic kernel, so our live version of the SDK, so which we have in just the logic, all the latest update. Also like a LangChain, data Copilot, whatever you name it, customers are so eager to bring that testing out there. Hey, all the things what the Microsoft has been introduced, how I actually get mapping my SAP data as a core of my ELT. I don't want to play around, my data can be available in outside. Okay, this is how we do. Also, like we see that number of therefore, like how we can bring their own data. So that now the Azure OpenAI, the playground. So we also offering that bring your own data. Okay, so this is one of all the options which you can do. Also in a VectorDB, CDC. So this is all the outside in approach where I met the day-by-day customer. This is all they're asking here. So, Holger, like from the email point of view, do you see a lot of customers actually look at the outside in or inside out?
So that's very interesting. I think it really depends on who you are talking with at the customers. So I think at the moment, especially when you come from the business side, I see mainly the outside-in approach that you have seen, but I'm also engaged with a lot of ABAP developers at the moment. And obviously they very much see the inside out approach, and where exactly like what you have here on the slide, where we have the AI SDK for SAP that Gopal and the team has developed.
Yeah.
And then that's really something where I see, well, these ABAP, the ABAP developers, they're getting excited because all of a sudden they have an easy access to Azure OpenAI services. But from a business perspective, I actually see more the outside-in approach. As you said, maybe I already have a data lake in Azure. I already have the data from Synapse or from my SAP system, via the CDC connector in Synapse. And then the question is, how can I make this data accessible via AI services? So I think it's more the outside-in approach that I see in the moment.
Okay, I think the same for here in Asia as well. I think I see that very few customers, so like what we mentioned, that they tend to be ABAP world, but more or less like either they taking that the SAP's approach. Okay, so let's say that we're using what the SAP is providing. However, I see that huge demanding from the outside in as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've been quickly captured with that, some of like approach where I've been mentioning that this is actually where I'm helping that my customers POC sandbox. So I've been capturing that sort of like a quick comparison of like once, let's say that once it's starting with the ChatGPT with the SAP Live Data, then I'll give you that options. Hey, this is all the component which you need to having that when it comes to the provisioning. So I think from the ChatGPT with the SAP Live Data, so this is a high demanding, which is a very straightforward. Okay, thing also the required programming language, the Python, ABAP for the OData, Azure for the C#. And then, so along the way with that, the number 5. Okay, later I'll go to the very details. I think the one what I'm using the later part is actually to bring that the SAP data. So I mean, up to that, this is something called like analysis and the visualization, using the live data and historical data. So as you can see, the required component is actually a lot. Okay, so starting from the GPT-4, using the CDC connectors, using the CNAPS, also using the cognitive services, using the React as my front end. Also using the statics app, also using the container, using the API for all the secure API management, also using the Azure native monitoring. So this is a lot of the component where customers say, wow. But however, from the enterprise, okay, majority of SAP customer, this is what they needed, which they said, yes, this is also necessary in order to running my SAP with AI as enterprise level.
But CJ, I actually think we are in a very early stage. So yes, right now there are a lot of components, but actually, if you go quickly back to the previous slide, and if we take a look at the Power Virtual Agent preview, I think it's absolutely amazing how easy it is now with Power Virtual Agents to just connect to a website or to connect to a storage, and then you do next finish basically, and it trains your bot, and then a lot of these components that are required to make this work are now bundled or hidden behind the wizard that is part of Power Virtual Agent. So I can think of if you take a look at your number 5 now with all these different services, over time we will see that this will get consolidated, that there will be additional tools that will help you to come up with these scenarios. So I think right now you are on the very, very front, basically bringing all these tools manually together. But I'm sure over time this will evolve and it will get easier and easier.
Yeah. So once again, like what you mentioned there, number 5, I mean, the component, I mean, this is like I want to naming them like the key priority component. I haven't mentioned that in a detailed one. However, as the SAP basis consultant background, native, HANA, right? I mean, my most typical part is actually coding, like a JavaScript, CSS, Python, okay? But however, like I having the training that the virtual PBA, I mean, actually, wow, I don't need to actually write in code, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why like under the program language area, this is clearly is empty. Okay, no program language is required. So that's why I like that. I mean, coming the weeks, I've got another demo. I'm really willing to share with the demo. So I'll try to differentiate that based on the evidence you just innovating it. Let's say that you do have, already establishing that very well structured, no code local team. There is no need, which you work with the very complicated enterprise level scenario where you need to pulling up your SAP develop team, Azure infra, the Python developer, your data team. Why not simply go to the Power Virtual Agent using that board? We do all the job. What you need is that you just need to creating the right block, okay? And then as long as you have got ELP connectors, which is using the BAP or RFC, done. Okay, you don't need to write a single code. So this is what I also like very much. So quickly, I just need to recap that one of the high demanding use cases, which we have been showed that my April demo, and I also show us the same demo with that SAP Now event last month. Yeah, I mean, this is a huge amount of the huge opportunity from a lot of customers. And just to recap with that, this is how it look like. Okay, so this is this time I'm using the GPT-4. Okay, then it comes with that. Our ES5, the demo system. Okay, so this is where am I able to running all the queries at the lake. And then I do see the people is asking, hey CJ, do we have any repository? So which I say yes, we have it. Okay. Yeah, so just a search for that. Okay, sorry, it is 91. Yeah, so just typing that the ChatGPT SAP AOI. So this is all the repository. We have been giving all the code instruction and build step. How you're going to deploy from your local into that level up to what you build. Okay, so yeah, so this is how a lot of my customer, my partner, so they are actually building that very easy way to building that SAP data in the Teams integration, which I mean, this is one of the easiest way they can do. Okay, so next one. So probably quickly go through that. Yeah, I mean, second one is actually the bring your own data to consume it directly by the Azure OpenAI. So we know that this one has been available throughout the Azure Azure OpenAI the studio. So then the question from the customers. Actually, this is a recap by one of our colleagues from the MTC. Okay, so they have been capturing that various requirement from customer point of view. Let's say, wow, so we do have all the data, which is we already went through all the require, the filtering, mapping, etc. But simply we don't know how to using that this portion of the API consumption in both services. This is where we are actually able to using the bring your own data with consume direct preview. So one thing what I hear a lot of customers saying is that once we are uploading that our data, so there's no way so we are able to uploading once again, it is starting the consumption. So which is a challenge with that big. So here we still have restriction of live data, which is not still available. So which means that very likely after you went through that, all your dedicated, the data orchestration, everything done, this is the version. You don't expect anything changing that within the next quarter. So this is how you are able to using that as an enterprise level. Then starting from the right-hand side, data source, okay, as HANA and all the way data ingest, then you can place that as a component services as a such services. And then this is where so we are able to using that easiest ways of bring your own data with the console directly. So I see that a couple of customers, they also keen to using it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is the AI SDK, which we do have the session from the Gopal. I'm sure that a lot of customers, they also like this one. So I quickly skip this one. So so Power Virtual Agent, so which we just had about 2 weeks back. So this is one of the also slide where I have been recapturing that my version. So where also able to placing that. So you can actually using that as a function as well. Also other scenarios so where I've been placing a little bit as another diagram to our customer. So when it comes to that, the Power Virtual Agent, everything about flow, okay? As long as you have got the right flow, and then this is a creation of the building block where you can easily creating your Power Virtual Agent. And then there are various options so which you are able to bring your data from the live, the historical data, which I've got quite good feedback from our customer. They love to do it. And then, with help from you, okay? So this is how am I using that my customer? So I'm comparing with that, sales assistant support. So actually, it's a workable. Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think this is one of the idea where. So I'm currently checking with that. There are a lot of the interesting questions from our customer whether the fabric, our latest one data lake. So how we gonna helping with that the various data source what we having from the SAP point of view, which means I say simply using the data factory and then the Synapse, kind of like a lot of the multiple jobs. So you have to doing that this one and this one. However, using the fabric, so all the menu, what I have been using it is actually integrated, which you don't have to go through that multiple line. So where I strongly recommend fabric was is one of the great ways. So if you think about fully using the audio data source. And also there are a couple of customers actually asking how to using the chat history. Okay, there are also using DB, and also there are high demanding for using the LangChain, VectorDB, semantic kernel, where I need to spend some more time. How we're creating the dedicated agent, all the planners making that, like a chain that I'm running the final of it. So this is what I have been sharing one of my desks, one of them the customer. And then, so I think this one and number two things to do. Okay, last piece is that when it comes to the actual, after you completed the conceptual idea, then customers, hey, how are we gonna running that this POC project with Microsoft? Okay, then I definitely, simply from the project point of view, I think only difference is that you need to have the right resource. It depends on which use case if you want to go. Let's say that if customers are taking the Power Virtual Agent, which you don't need to, that's such a component in a dedicated resource. However, coming with that, my scenario, like the case is one, probably I would suggest that from the Microsoft, the customer success unit, the CSU, we also offering something called BBD, okay? So value basis delivery, where it comes with that our expertise. So we running that something called like a design thinking basis, capturing your use cases. Okay, then we will be sharing us that define with the scope objective, and then this is where actually I proposing that my customer. And then I'll go through with that. Right now we're running that design thinking basis use cases. And then once we have got the sort of like the conceptual idea, so why not we're setting up the Azure environment and powered by that develop and deploy in case the unit that the board help. So this is how we do discover, build, and test. Once we've done POC closer, then go. So I think this is a fully we are able to support it from Microsoft point of view under the BBD. So it depends on the scope of their work. So it can be manageable. However, from the Microsoft, bring the AI into the SAP still new. Okay, there are not many resources who can do from the end to end. So please reach out to Microsoft, Asia, from a single point of me. And then from the Asia point of view, we have to bring you that your AI journey to the SAP much more easily, smoothly. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, so that's all what I had prepared today. Any last question? Any suggestion, Koga, you have it?
No, fantastic, CJ. I think especially this call to action. So if you liked what you saw here, then reach out to CJ, especially if you're in the Asia, Singapore area. If not, share us your ideas, feedback. But I think we're on a very, very good track there. And I'm sure, CJ, with your workshops, with all the customer interactions that you have, you'll get more and more ideas. And maybe in five months from now, we'll see you again with an even more sophisticated integration scenario. So the pressure is on you.
Okay. I think once again, from the solution architecture point of view, I think what the customer is really missing is that, like Holder, you mentioned the Lego block. So they do have a great idea with the Lego block, but when it comes to it, make it work, somebody has to trigger that line. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a Lego block. You go first. Okay. This is a Lego block. Actually, you can drop it. You can actually combine. So this is where the Microsoft, like the AI expert, SAP expert, we can help you with that. Let's make your Lego block nicely that you can run. So this is how we are able to help you with that. I mean, please reach out to me. If you have great ideas, if you want to get some help, please reach out to Microsoft Teams. So we definitely help you for you.
Perfect. That's a fantastic closing. Thank you very much, CJ, for joining us today. Thanks for this great demo and all the work that you're doing in this area. And yeah, as said, I'm really hoping to see you again on the podcast here.
All right. So once again, thank you for having me. Have a good rest of the day. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.